after police confronted a black man, shooting and killing him Monday afternoon. Philadelphia Police Sergeant Eric Gripp says a man with a knife confronted officers.
The male continued to follow after the officers while brandishing the weapon. The officers ordered him to drop it several more times. Fortunately, he did not. The officers discharged their weapons several times, striking the male.
In the wake of that, 30 police officers were injured by rioters and protesters. Amy Coney Barrett, the newest justice on the U.S. Supreme Court.
Thank you, President Trump, for selecting me to serve as an Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. It's a privilege to be asked to serve my country in this office, and I stand here tonight truly honored and humbled. After
being sworn in by Justice Clarence Thomas, Barrett stressed the importance of judges remaining outside the sway of politics. Eli Lilly stopping a study on an antibody treatment for COVID-19. U.S. government officials stopped that study because, according to Lilly, the drug didn't seem to be helping anyone hospitalized with the virus. Hurricane Zeta bearing down on Louisiana. Governor John Bel Edwards there declaring a state of emergency number 8 this year for Louisiana. Authorities are investigating after a man was shot and killed as he sat at a kitchen table on Chicago's South Side. It happened early this morning in the first block of East 121st Place. Chicago police have safely located a missing baby after a reported auto theft Monday on the city's South Side. It happened in the 2700 block of West 71st Street around 12:45 in the afternoon. If you're planning on cracking open a cold one today, you may be interested in knowing that today is National American Beer Day. And if you're looking for something different than maybe a Bud or Bud Light, the American Homebrew Association is out with its 2020 list of best beers in America. And for the 4th year in a row, Bell's Two-Hearted Ale, brewed in Michigan, takes the number 1 spot. Rams mauled the Bears 21-10 on Monday Night Football in Inglewood, California. Game 6 of the World Series gets going tonight. Dodgers take on the Rays at Globe Life Park in Arlington, Texas. Dodgers lead that series 3-2. The news service of Indeed.com. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed delivers quality candidates so you can focus on hiring the person who is a good fit. Claim your $75 credit for your first post at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply. 6:32 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The in-person tickets for Freedom Summit 2020, presented by Matrix Basement Systems, sold out in less than 3 days. But don't worry, you can still be a part of this year's event when you purchase your virtual ticket. See all 12 hours of Freedom Summit live on October 31st from the comfort of your own home on the video live stream featuring Candace Owens, Larry Elder, Charlie Kirk, and many more. Get your virtual ticket today at freedomsummitchicago.com. Sponsored in part by Douglas Automotive.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm State Representative Deanne Mazzocchi. I'm a mom, wife, chemist, lawyer, and like you, I am tired of Mike Madigan bringing the state of Illinois down. I exposed Madigan's shady ways of doing business with your tax dollars. My opponent? She takes Madigan's money. She says she'll be independent, but an honest independent woman doesn't take money from a corrupt man. I'm Deanne Mazzocchi. Illinois state government needs real fighters for real reform. For your seat and your voice, I ask for your vote.
Paid for by Citizens for Mazzocchi.
After 25 years of building websites for all kinds of companies in many different industries, AmericanEagle.com realized a well-designed website is also your best employee, bringing efficiency, revenue, production, showing up every day, giving above and beyond to increase your bottom line. That's what a website designed, developed, and hosted by AmericanEagle.com has brought to so many clients. An AmericanEagle.com website is a 24/7 branding exercise, building rapport and thus brand equity while you sleep. Companies like WeatherTech have relied on AmericanEagle.com's website design and development and hosting capabilities for years. When some of the world's top brands need a reliable company to prepare their sites for high-traffic events, who do they call? AmericanEagle.com. Their clients have come to rely on them for a full line of website services, from consulting and strategy to digital marketing, hosting, and maintenance. Give the team at AmericanEagle.com a call today. 1-877-WEB-NOW. The number 1 is the number. AmericanEagle.com is the website. 1-877-WEB-NOW-1 is the number.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Hi, I'm Dr. Willie Wilson. People in Illinois have been crying out for justice, equality, and fairness from their government for years. And it keeps getting worse. Unfair taxes, laws that unjustly imprison nonviolent offenders. The rich get richer, and the everyday people suffer. It's time for a change, and with your help, I'm here to do it. I'm asking for your support as I run for U.S. Senator in 2020.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for Senate 2020.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com.
The following is a paid political announcement.
So ask yourself, what has Chris Chung been doing for us at the State House? Well, not much. Seems he's been too focused on pushing his extreme agenda instead of bringing jobs to the region. Let me explain. Chris Chung voted against the $205 million needed for our South Shore expansion and against incentives to help grow a local data center into a $200 million tax revenue generating campus. And when it comes to law and order, Chris Chung voted against raises for the state police. Let's vote no to Chris Chung. But we can vote yes for a conservative who knows how to bring jobs to Northwest Indiana. Hal Slager. Hal is endorsed by the Indiana Small Business Association PAC because Hal is an effective leader and a proven advocate for the hardworking families of the region. Hal Slager supports the police and is endorsed by the Indiana State Police Alliance PAC. Hal Slager is the solid conservative who shares our values. Vote Hal Slager for state representative on or before Tuesday, November 3rd.
Paid for by the committee to elect Hal Slager.
8:36. Team Hochberg, Traffic Center time, and Jim Talamonte.
Despite a little snow, traffic moves well on most of the expressways and tollways right now. On the Kennedy, you're looking at 20 minutes, so O'Hare to downtown, outbound the same. On the Edens, it's 15 minutes from Lake Cook to the Kennedy. The Eisenhower has a trip time right now of 28 minutes, 390 to downtown. And we are seeing a little bit of congestion around Des Plaines Avenue. On the Stevenson, it's 29 minutes, 355 to Lakeshore Drive. It's a heavy ramp to the inbound Ryan. On the Rhine, it's now 19 minutes, 95th to downtown, outbound 14. Bishop Ford, you're looking at a 2-minute delay from Cottage Grove to the Verge. Lakeshore Drive, 12 minutes, Hollywood to Monroe. There is bridge work at the Chicago River. The drive is down to 2 lanes in both directions. That's traffic. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From our AM 560 Weather Center, a chilly day ahead. Clouds will be on the increase in the morning with a little bit of light snow crossing the area, then a bit of sunshine in the afternoon, high 44. Currently 33 degrees. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Papa Nicholas Coffee. Papa Nicholas, great coffee, period.
See Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, and Larry Elder at Freedom Summit 2020 on October 31st. Tickets on sale now at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. This assessment that was offered after the pandemics of 2006 and 2009, the repeated pandemic health scares caused by an avian H5N1 in 2006 and a new H1N1 human influenza virus are part of the culture of fear. Worst case thinking replaced balanced risk assessment. Worst case thinking is motivated by the belief that the danger we face is so overwhelmingly catastrophic that we must act immediately. Rather than wait for information, we need a preemptive strike. But if resources buy lives, wasting resources waste lives. The precautionary stocking of large useless antivirals and the irrational vaccination policies against the unusually benign H1N1 2009 virus wasted many billions of euros and eroded the trust of the public in health officials. The pandemic policy was never informed by evidence, but by fear of worst-case scenarios. Wasted many billions of euros, eroded the trust of the public in health officials. The pandemic policy was never informed by evidence, but by fear of worst-case scenarios. That assessment of the response to the pandemics of 06 and 09 was issued in 2011 by the World Health Organization. And interestingly, in 2020, right now, as we've talked about in this show, we have the special envoy for COVID-19 from the World Health Organization decrying lockdown policies. And what do we see? Lockdowns in Italy, lockdowns in Ireland, lockdowns in many
Spain.
of the Democrat socialist states in this country. But we're told that there's a scientific consensus and that to voice any opposition to the lockdown policies is to be anti-science. Interesting. The World Health Organization that was just defended so vociferously when it came under assault by President Trump. That same World Health Organization. Then and now. But to oppose lockdowns, to oppose the or be skeptical based on a lack of evidence of these alleged, the way they're reported, panaceas like mask wearing, is to be anti-science.
Okay. Or, according to our governor, anti-American. It's your civil duty. You got to mask up for your fellow man and woman.
That doesn't sound like a scientific argument.
No, it's not.
Sounds like a jingoistic one. William Briggs is the statistician to the stars, writer, philosopher, itinerant scientist. His blog, wmbriggs.com. He also is the co-author of The Price of Panic, How the Tyranny of Experts Turned a Pandemic into a Catastrophe. William Briggs, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
You know, surprised to hear or be reminded of that assessment by the World Health Organization from the global response in 06 and 09?
Nope, not at all. And in fact, they continued that sort of attitude through 2019. They issued a report, which they forgot about in 2020, but in 2019 they said, don't do lockdowns for the general public. Social distancing probably won't work, they said, and is not recommended. Whatever you do, don't kick people out of work. They definitely said, don't kick people out of work. Yet somehow in 2020, Tedros, that guy in charge of them, forgot all about this stuff. This is a big report they wrote. The one that you talked about, the one in 2019, forgot all about it and then recommended lockdowns. And a lot of countries followed them. Many countries are jumping back into them right now, even though they must have learned from the first time they went into these lockdowns. They gained nothing and lost a lot, but they haven't been able to learn from this.
Well, shouldn't they just be locking down those with comorbidities, those who are morbidly obese, and those are 75 and older?
Well, I wouldn't lock them down. You could have voluntary isolation of the most vulnerable. Absolutely, these are people who are 75 years old for the most part, who are old and elderly and have lots of comorbidities. On average, the CDC found they have 2.7 comorbidities, and serious comorbidities too, like COPD, obesity, diabetes, coronary artery disease, Alzheimer's, and on and on. So these people are sick people at the end of their lives, and it's very sad. But instead of getting carried off by the flu, a lot of people did get carried off, unfortunately, by this new bug that's circulating. But it varied country by country depending on the government reaction. In our case, it was an overreaction. What we did, for instance, in New York and Connecticut is criminal. We put the people who are sick into nursing homes where the elderly reside. It resulted in thousands of deaths because of panics, because they thought the hospitals were going to be overwhelmed, because they thought lots and lots of young people and middle-aged people were going to be flooding into the hospitals based on all these deeply flawed models that never had any chance of being correct. But they believed them, and now that they've gone into these things and they've taken these decisions, and they've cost such an immense toll in lives lost, businesses lost, livelihoods lost. They can't admit error, so they're just doubling down on the mistakes they made the first time.
You mentioned the flu. What has happened to the flu? In Australia, just 14 positive flu cases were recorded in April compared with 367 during the same month in 2019. That's a 96% drop. By June, usually the peak of its flu season, there were none. 0 cases of the flu in Australia. In fact, Australia has not reported a positive case to the WHO since July. In Chile, just 12 cases of the flu were detected between April and October. There were 7,000 during the same period in 2019. In the UK, since COVID began spreading in March, just 767 cases have been reported to the WHO, compared with 7,000 from March to October last year. What happened to the flu?
Oh, it's still there. The flu didn't disappear, but what happened is the testing for it has disappeared because there has been a mad, enormous, insane, preposterous increase in testing for the coronavirus. You're quite right. I have on my blog today the WHO's latest data showing the flu tracking. They have a global tracking network, absolutely dead flat. No flu for months. No flu for months at all. That's impossible. So what's happening instead is everybody's rushing to get these coronavirus tests, and any possible indication, whether it's a real positive or an indication of a past disease or perhaps a different coronavirus or something like this, they're labeling as a coronavirus infection, which they're falsely calling cases, and nobody's checking for the flu. Nobody's bothering to go and get a flu test because, again, just today I heard on the news, don't go to the hospital, they said in Pennsylvania, because we're anticipating a second wave of people flooding into the system from this surge. But this surge is entirely an artifact of the enormous number of testing we're doing. So flu can't disappear. It's not going anywhere, but it's just not being tested for. So these tracking networks aren't picking them up. And the people who have this aren't going to the hospital to seek treatment. People are still scared to go to the hospital.
Well, and they're doing the same thing here in the Chicago area, saying, cases, hospitalizations are up 50% from 2 weeks ago. Well, 2 weeks ago, they had 30% bed capacity. Now they're 45. But less people are in the ICU and less people are on ventilators. So it's all this hyperbole, and they're scaring us because they say, well, we have to get ready for the flu season. There's not going to be a flu season. If you look at the Southern Hemisphere, what we just discussed, it's not going to happen.
Well, it's going to happen, but it just won't be measured. That's the problem. The CDC's official tally of week-on-week coronavirus deaths, the deaths attributed to coronavirus, these are people who die with or die of the coronavirus. It's been dropping steadily. It's very easy to check. All you have to do is go to their website and look. There's no magic in this. You don't need any sophisticated statistics or anything. But the media is playing up these so-called cases. They're not cases. They're positive tests amidst. We're testing over 1 million people a day. Many people get multiple tests, day on day on day, and this kind of stuff. And every single time they test positive is counted as a new positive, which is being touted as a case. And when people hear case, they think, oh, my goodness, this person is, near death. They could die. That's not what's happening. It's just been a misreporting, a blind panic, and we can't let ourselves do this to ourselves again. The government is responsible in part, it's true, but so are the people. The people are demanding that the government act, and the government, of course, is welcoming this demand, and they're taking up the mantle of power to do it.
Although you do have some revolts happening around the world with renewed lockdown policies that indicate that perhaps at least, some people have had enough for a long time, but it seems like more are getting to their breaking point.
That's right. In Italy, there was recent, in Ireland and so forth. We need something of the same sort here, a kind of nonviolent civil disobedience to some of these draconian rules that we have. Don't forget, everybody should listen. 8 states in the United States never locked down: North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, others, and they did among the best as far as death rates go. No mask mandates and things like this. And Florida opened up. Everybody predicted the absolute worst was going to happen for them. It was going to be a slaughterhouse. Turned out to be fine. Sweden did fine. Japan, nobody ever mentions Japan. Japan never had a lockdown. They have the absolute lowest death rate among all these large countries, much lower than Sweden's.
And they have a low case rate, too. I mean, what
Well,
did
because they're
Japan
not
do that the
testing.
rest
They're
of the
not
world didn't
testing.
do? Oh, because they're not testing.
They're not testing like crazy. We're testing healthy people. We're telling people, my God, you might have this disease. Well, how deadly can this disease be if you don't even know you have it and you have to go and get tested?
Well, they tell us if we're around somebody who had it, you should go get tested immediately, even if you don't have symptoms.
Most people, if they're
well, they say that, and then they said the opposite too. I mean, they're all over the place.
They're all over the place. The population fatality rates for people who are under 60, 65, something like this, are very low. You have a much higher chance of dying for something else besides the coronavirus. This is the CDC's latest numbers. What these policies are, they're not based on science. They're not based on any evidence that we have. They're just based on these gut reactions. And there's a lot of people out there trying to seek the limelight for whatever reasons, that they want to get involved in this and be put in the power to make these decisions over people's lives. And we got to be wary of this. You've heard the saying, when you hear a doctor, you get some kind of diagnosis that is unfavorable to you. You should get a second opinion. Mm-hmm. We should listen to other scientists too, besides just the ones that are in government, because they're not the only ones out there. There's a lot of us out there who are making the point that it's not that bad.
There was a moment in Thursday night's final presidential debate where Kristen Welker, the moderator, invoked Tony Fauci as the best-known infectious disease expert in America. And the point is, being the best known is not the same thing as being the best. And I'm not saying that Tony Fauci doesn't know his stuff with respect to infectious disease, but there's a lot of other people that are just as credentialed, just as knowledgeable, and who have different opinions. And I thought science was about skepticism, and you have to prove, not just declare. And we seem to have lost that.
Fauci has followed the winds. At the very beginning, when everybody said it wasn't a big deal, he said it wasn't a big deal, the politicians in power in these big states. And then when they said it's a big deal, he said it's a big deal. And then he said no masks at first. Now he's saying we got to have a mask mandate through 2022. And he said, this is the guy who says we're never going to be able to shake hands again. Yeah. Not just now, but again, forever. This is nuts. This is not immunology. This is just
panic porn.
Nonsense.
It's panic porn.
Exactly.
I think, and I hate to say it. I think that with the election a week away, politics has something to do with it.
Oh, brother. No question about it, yes.
Yeah. I hear you, sister.
If you were advising, there's a story out today with Black Friday around the corner and everybody wanting to wait 4 hours to go to outlet malls for some reason. The retail giant Target closing their doors to shoppers on Thanksgiving Day, and Black Friday is in question. If you were asked to advise and counsel Target, would you say that they should open their stores? Should big box stores, retailers, should they be open, or should they, out of an abundance of caution, stay closed?
Certainly they should be open. If you are worried for yourself, if you yourself have these various comorbidities, particularly obesity, diabetes, the big ones that everybody knows about, and you are elderly, why would you want to mix in these populations that carry the potential for risk? You also have the potential to catch flu. You have the potential to catch other diseases. Of course, you want to take care of yourself. But for everybody else, it's not doing any good. It's just not doing any good. For the most people who get this thing, it's minor. A lot of people don't even know they had it. They turn out to be testing real positives, and they remember they had a scratchy throat a day, 2 or 3 weeks back or something like this. It's just, this is a very selective killer of a disease, and also not that unusual. We get these things every 10 to 20 years. You started off by mentioning the ones back in 2006, 2009. We get these things all the time. We can't be panicking like this every time there's a new outbreak. We'll just never, ever be able to return to normal.
He is William Briggs, the statistician to the stars, writer, philosopher, itinerant scientist. His blog, wmbriggs.com. He's also the co-author of The Price of Panic, How the Tyranny of Experts Turned a Pandemic into a Catastrophe. William Briggs, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on